The weight wasn't just the hopes of Burkina Faso, it was the familiar heavy cloak of distrust. Ibrahim Traoré had known betrayal before, seen how quickly loyalty could curdle into poison. Landing in Moscow, the sharp metallic scent of the runway felt less like a foreign capital and more like another arena where hidden blades might flash. This wasn't just diplomacy. It was navigating a labyrinth where every shadow might hold a threat, and his own past warned him the most dangerous threats often wore trusted faces. Stepping off the plane, the biting cold was matched by the glacial reception. Blackened vehicles, silent soldiers. The air crackled with surveillance, thick and immediate. Captain Wedra Hogo, a quiet force at his side, her eyes missing nothing, confirmed his intuition with a minimal shift in posture. "Sir, the pattern is wrong." The convoy moved with clinical precision, isolating them. Traore watched the city lights, a beautiful facade over a potentially treacherous game. He knew they were testing him, probing for weakness. Then, a jolt. The convoy stopped abruptly. A figure emerged from the periphery, not the expected official, but a lone Russian officer, Lieutenant Sergei Ivanov. His approach was measured, but his eyes held a desperate urgency. "Mr. President," he said, bypassing protocol entirely, his voice barely audible above the engine hum. "You need to know. Things are not as they seem. Information is compromised." He offered no more, just a fleeting, significant look before the convoy was waved on. Ambiguous, calculated, a new variable in an already volatile equation. Traoré didn't dismiss it. Sergei's warning, vague as it was, felt like a confirmation of the insidious feeling of being watched, of arrangements feeling too smooth, too controlled. Hogo, sensing his shift, was already on it. Cross-reference immediate contacts. Look for anomalies. Anyone trying too hard, anyone too quiet. The possibility of foreign agents embedded by external powers was real, but Sergei's hint felt deeper, about their information being compromised. Back at the residence, in the sterile quiet, Traoré and Hogo worked in hushed intensity, reviewing communication logs, observing their own team with a new clinical gaze, the fragmented data, the subtle shifts in access. Then, the chilling discovery. Not a foreign ghost, but a trusted face, a member of his own inner circle. The evidence was circumstantial but compelling, a pattern of subtle misdirection, information leaked, access granted. He was the vulnerability. The betrayal wasn't outside, it was standing right there, on his side of the table, a knife poised at his back. The twist was a sickening punch to the gut, a familiar pain from past battles, now resurrected in the heart of Moscow. The game wasn't just about foreign spies, it was about root rot within his own structure. The next morning, the meeting room felt like a stage set for a confrontation. Traoré entered, not in military uniform this time, but civilian clothes, a calculated move, projecting calm while preparing for chaos. The delegates settled, the air thick with forced cordiality. The hidden observers were there, their presence a silent assertion of foreign reach. The Russian general began, but Traoré interrupted, holding a simple, unsealed envelope. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice quiet but cutting through the tension, "before we discuss alliances, we must address transparency and the cost of deceit." He didn't look at the hidden observers first. He looked directly at the man he had identified. "Some present here," Traoré continued, his gaze unwavering, "serve interests not aligned with Burkina Faso, nor, I suspect, with the genuine interests of Russia." He paused, letting the weight of the words sink in. "And tragically," he added, his voice carrying a note of profound disappointment, "sometimes those interests are served from within our own ranks." This was the moment. As Traoré laid the envelope on the table, not with files for the Russians, but with proof intended for his own people, outlining the internal compromise, the room erupted. The exposed traitor within Traore's delegation reacted first. A desperate lunge, a shout of denial that was instantly silenced by Traore's guards, acting with brutal efficiency honed by Hogo's training. Simultaneously across the room, the foreign observers stirred, their controlled facade cracking, hands moving subtly, the tension spiking from political theater to imminent physical threat. Captain Hogo was a blur, drawing her weapon, her eyes locking onto the most immediate dangers among the exposed agents. Russian security, already on high alert, reacted in parallel, converging on the identified foreign elements as shouting and chaos briefly threatened to engulf the room. It was a calculated gamble by Traore, forcing the issue, exposing the rotten core, both foreign and domestic, and pushing the Russian hosts to choose a side, violently and definitively, right then and there. Order was restored, but the atmosphere was irrevocably changed. The exposed foreign agents, along with Traore's own disgraced team member, were swiftly removed. The Russian general, his face a mask of surprise and grudging respect, looked at Traore. "You handled that decisively, Mr. President." He now understood the complex game Traore was playing, and winning. The subsequent discussions were starkly different. The pretense was gone. Real issues, real terms, real commitments. Traore, having demonstrated he could clean house under extreme pressure, commanded a new level of respect. He hadn't just survived the trap, he had dismantled parts of it using its own hidden mechanisms and exposed the betrayal closest to him. The news that trickled out wasn't about successful talks, but about a dramatic incident, a leader who had faced down threats from within and without. Back in Ouagadougou, the story ignited a different kind of pride. Not just military strength, but strategic brilliance and the painful, necessary act of purging corruption. Traore ordered a sweeping review, not just of external threats, but internal vulnerabilities. The new intelligence unit he commissioned focused as much on financial trails and compromised officials as on cyber threats. The lesson of Moscow was harsh. Vigilance must begin at home. Later, a small unmarked package arrived from Moscow. Inside, not a medal, but a simple, intricately carved wooden bird, a symbol of freedom and watchfulness in some Russian folklore. A message from Sergei, perhaps, acknowledging a shared understanding beyond politics. Traore placed it on his desk, a reminder that allies could appear in unexpected forms. But the truest strength came from confronting the enemies you carried within. The fight for Burkina Faso's future, he knew, was not just on the borders or in diplomatic halls, but in the quiet, relentless work of ensuring integrity from the inside out.